Welcome to the Seahawks podcast. I'm your co-host, Clinton Bonner. I am joined by two of my best buds in the whole universe. First, I'm going to go down to Mr. Phil. Mr. Phil, how you doing today, buddy? Been a little bit, but really glad to see you, man.
I'm doing great. Enjoyed you and Brandon's show about the free agents. We got a lot of money to work with. That's not what this show is about, but I think it'll be needed because we have a lot of guys coming up on contract soon. So even if we don't spend it this year, we will need to be spending it soon. Someone's name rhymes with spoon or soon. His name is Spoon. We have a number of guys coming up soon. So that was encouraging to hear all the space we have, and I'm glad to be back on the show.
Yeah, we're going to be reviewing our roster today as we're less than 30 days out from the NFL draft. So we're going to be doing a hardcore deep dive into the current roster, like as it is right now, and giving some, I'd say, honest to goodness grades on how do we feel about this current roster, not how we're going to feel in 30 days, not how we're going to feel after wave 17 of free agency, but how we feel right now, where the holes are, where we feel good. Adam, I know a place where I feel good and you feel good because, buddy, it is our birthday today. So happy birthday to you, Adam. How's it going, man?
Hey, merry birthday to you, buddy. How does it feel to be a year closer to 50 than I am? How does that feel, like, on the inside?
It feels consistent.
It does. Yeah, like clockwork every year. But hey, man, it's our birthdays, which means that we get to do whatever we want today, right? Because it's our birthday. We can cry if we want to. We can talk about positional groups for the Seahawks if we want to. I think we all decided that's what we want to do. It's going to be fun. Phil, you have done this for us each and every year. You've organized this, and it's always been a fun exercise. And I like the idea, too, as you were stating earlier, guys, the idea of like, hey, let's see where we're at now. Test the temperature, and then we'll see where we're at after, because obviously we don't know what we don't know coming up.
100%. I think it's a good, just grounding exercise to do this because yes, we could have all these illusions of grandeur and because everybody falls in love with draft crushes this time of year. And you literally you convince yourself that guy's already a Seahawk. And that's not always the case. You're like, okay, then you get a fallback guy, right? Okay, if we don't get this guy around 1, well, there's this guy around 3. But guess what? There's 31 other teams that are watching also. So it really is nice to evaluate where the heck are we right now. We're going to get into that on this episode of the Seahawks podcast. Guys, I do want to do a few things real quick over here, let people know about some real fun things we have coming up. So I'm going to be out west. Adam, you're coming out, and Brandon's coming out too. We're going to be at the Clearwater Casino, which is, I guess, just across the peninsula on Puget Sound. Excited for this. We're going to be there the 24th and 25th of April, but the party is that first night. Earl Thomas will be there. Julian Love will be there. Kenny McIntosh, other Seahawks are going to be there. You should be there too. Hit that QR code on youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. We're going to be live streaming there for 2 days straight. I know I'm fired up about that. All right, a couple of other things to fly through, boys. Support. Adam, why don't you take this, man? It's our birthday. So what could people do on our birthday for us?
Absolutely, man. If you could get in there, hit the little like, hit the big old subscribe. See, because that's the big one. Like, likes are nice. Like, everybody likes to feel liked, especially on your birthday. But man, there's nothing like saying, I'd like to sign up for more of your nonsense, which is exactly what I put out there. If you like making fun of me, if you like listening to the really smart stuff that comes out of Clinton, Phil, Brandon's mouths and throughout the season, hit subscribe. You won't be sad. 5 shows a week when we get to the full season with Mr. Phil's hosted What If, which is, I'm telling you, folks, it is easily the most unique, in-depth, cool preview of Seahawks football each and every week. So hit subscribe. If you don't, you're going to be sad on the inside for the rest of spring, and that's on you.
And if we're giving you even extra value, getintheflock.com so you can join as a flocker and come hang out in the Discord and do all the other extra stuff and perks we're doing. We're doing a flocker meetup at the draft party I just mentioned, and Adam already mentioned subscribing and liking and all that. So, Mr. Phil, before we get to position number 1, we like to put out these YouTube polls. And yesterday we asked, of the 3 contracts, you mentioned the episode we just did about the contracts. Of the 3 contracts, which one are you kind of most thinking the Seahawks got the best deal? So let's go around the room here. The audience said Sam Darnold, basically 7 out of 10. Phil, how do you feel about that question? Was it Darnold, was it Kupp, or was it D-Law? Where do you think we got the best value?
This is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I pulled the audience. I'm going to have to go with the audience here, Clinton. I wasn't dying to have Sam Darnold until Geno was gone, and I thought, well, we're either going to have a terrible season or we're going to have to get Sam Darnold, but it's going to cost us probably more than I want to pay. When I found out the price, I was happy, and I'm a little more positive about the season than I thought I would be right after the Geno trade.
All right. So he's going with the 7 out of 10. Adam, how about you?
Man, this is actually really difficult because there's so many different factors that go into each and every one of these contracts and these players and how it might play out. The only reason I would shy away from the Sam Darnold contract is not because of the number. I think the number's a really nice number. If you get the quarterback that you saw in Minnesota, or at least I'm not even talking numbers wise, I'm just talking that level of play, because obviously there's some things, and we'll talk about it as we go through position groups, that around him that maybe isn't as strong as what he played with in Minnesota. And so I just want to see him be able to do that. There's a big possibility that he can't live up to what he did last year. There's a nice possibility that he could be even better, and then it's a crazy value. So the only reason I stay away from the Sam contract is the variability that you could get for that, which that's still a big number, cheap for quarterbacks, but big number, could make that be, really hurtful or an amazing value. But I like the DeMarcus Lawrence contract. I know a lot of people are down on this, but he's the type of player. This is low risk, high reward, a guy that produces year in, year out. And I think a guy that could really take the entire defense up a huge level. And so that's why I lean towards DeMarcus Lawrence.
All right. I like the answer there. If I had to answer, and I guess I might as well, I think I'd go Sam just because of what you said, the variance, the ceiling on that contract to the positive could be tremendous. It's all a gamble. So if we're looking at year 2 Darnold and it's like a 33, $35 million quarterback, but he's playing top 10 ball, that is an extreme value when the Tuas and those likes are getting 53, 55. We'll see what Purdy gets, per year. And if you're sitting there at 35 or so with top 10 level quarterbacking, you are in really good position to make some noise in the NFL. So let's see how that plays out. All right. So boys, like we said, we are going to go through position by position with our Seattle Seahawks. We're going to give grades all through the offense, all through the defense. And we're really going to go into the nooks and crannies of these positions. And it's the NFL. So Mr. Phil, I'm going to pass the baton to you, but we've got to start with the guy who gets the ball, touches the ball the very most, and is the most important position in all of professional sports. That is quarterback. Mr. Phil, take it away.
Yes. So my vision for the show this year, and I've done ratings different each time, but what we're looking for is 1 to 5. And here's the idea as you rate them. And we're taking it right now. We've completed the main part of free agency. We just saw the scores there. Could there be a big trade? Who knows? But likely the big money spending is done. We're getting ready for the draft. How do we feel about the guys we know we have right now at each position? Not the individual players, but what's the health of the position for us in respect to maybe the division or the league? That's kind of where I'm looking, but especially kind of like the league as a whole. 1 to 5, is it a weakness? Is it a minus? Is it okay, we're fine? Is it a plus, or is it a real strength? And so 1 to 5 says that. And we start with quarterback, where we have guys at a good age, a couple of Sams, and we're looking forward to seeing how they're going to play. I'm going to start with Adam, and he's going to tell us his rating 1 to 5, how he feels about our quarterback position. Go ahead, Adam.
I love the new ranking system. It reminds me a lot of, I don't know if your grade school grades were like this, but it was like minus, S, S plus plus, and S just being satisfactory. Yes. And why that rang in my head is with all the Sams starting with S, this is an S to me, like a 3.
Got it.
We're fine. I have serious reservations on what could happen with Sam Darnold going forward. With that said, like, there is opportunity that he can level up and continue the ascension that he's on. And holy smokes, then all of a sudden you're talking something completely different. Now with Sam Howell, everybody knows my opinion about Sam Howell. They can replace him in the draft immediately, and I wouldn't be sad about it. Like, he's just not a quarterback that plays the position of quarterback. He's more of an athlete / football player, a little in the Taysom Hill mold in my mind. Not comparing arm talent and all that, but just in terms of their ability to play the quarterback position well. And then Jaron Hall's kind of fun for a number 3. There's things that he can do. So for me, it's a 3. It could definitely trend upwards, and it could definitely trend downwards. I mean, we could end up with Panthers, Sam Darnold too. That's a possibility. So that's where I'm at, Clinton. I don't know if that rings true to you, or if this isn't just satisfactory. Maybe this is to you a home run.
Well, yeah, a 5 and 8, right? So we can take that off the board. And I do want to let folks know that are watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening on audio, well, I guess you won't see it, but on YouTube, you see age groups or ages on the slide as well. Just so everybody's aware, that is the age they will turn in the NFL in this season to be. So like Sam Darnold, I believe, is 27 right now. He turns 28 this league year. So any of the ages you're seeing are what they're going to turn in the calendar year of 2025 as the NFL season's rocking and rolling.
And when it comes to ages, just to be clear, you guys are never going to catch me. I know you keep trying. I'll always get to the next one before you. So you get a little sense of how old you're going to look, a little half year preview. Go ahead.
I hope I age like that. That'd be way better for my deal.
I'm going to get taller. This is great. This is
I'm going to get thinner. This is awesome. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah. Call me Benjamin Button. Let's go. So I love this. All right. So Sam, really, I mean, this is really about Darnold. It's going to be the full weight. I know it's the whole room, and I'll put this at a 4. It's an optimistic 4. And here's my reasoning. I have to base the play on what I saw last. And I don't mean the last 2 games of Sam Darnold. I mean, 17 game sample size and plus, right, with some playoffs there, where he played some really good football. So I'm going to lean into the positivity. Now I realize there's reasons. The wide receiver room, we'll talk about our wide receivers, offensive line that was at least a little better than the current one we have, all that stuff. So everything in a vacuum. I have to just seal this off and say, what did I see from Sam Darnold? I saw a dude who really challenged defenses, got the ball downfield, was sometimes inaccurate on the shorter stuff that Kubiak does like to do. So that's going to be very interesting because Gino was almost always the opposite, like very accurate quarterback. But I saw a dude in Sam that, for the most part, stood in the face of danger, escaped when he had to escape, pushed the ball downfield well, got the ball to his playmakers over and over again. And you don't win 14 football games in an NFL regular season by accident. I'll give the whole room a 4. I really don't care to talk too much about Sam Howell or Jaron Hall, but got to assume health and got to assume that Sam Darnold is there. So that's a 4 from me, Phil. How about you?
So much to say about this position, but I have to be brief. I was thinking about your Sam Howell idea. What if in the draft we just trade him for a 6th rounder, and then we have that guard that's a restricted free agent from Jacksonville in? We need a 6th rounder to be able to get him. Bingo, bango, bongo. We take the restricted free agent. We move on from Sam Howell. We take a day 2, day 3 quarterback from this draft with some future. I think we do lack a little bit of future here. If there is future, it has to be Sam. It has to be Sam Darnold, because I don't see the future being Sam Howell. I don't know that Darnold is the future, but 3 was easy for me. He's very easily a 3. If he's going to slide to one side or the other, I would put it slightly closer to 4, but it's much closer to 3 than 4. I wouldn't fill a 2. Here's why I like him. I mean, I don't love him, but here's what I like about the possibility. A lot of our quarterbacks who had like this couldn't quite make it career, and then when they did, it seemed like they were able to be good. And you pick quarterbacks in the past. We've had the most recent one here with Gino. Not really sure he's ever going to turn out, but when they did figure it out, you put them in a good place and they're fine. I don't think there's a lot of, they say, well, you look at his whole career and he just had one good year, but it's the most recent one, which makes me think it's possible that that's what he is now versus he used to be good and he's been terrible for a while. Have a lot less hope. So when I'm thinking, I'm spacing off on a really easy one. The OU guy that Brandon wanted here so bad. Baker. Yeah. Baker. I mean, didn't think he'd turn out. Now he's pretty good and he stayed. Gino didn't think he'd turn out. Now he's pretty good. Gannon, that guy was nobody. He was like every once in a while for the Vikings, things like that. And then once he was good, he was good. So maybe that's who Sam Darnold is. I'm giving him a 3 with the hope he can be a 4 this season. Our average is 3.3 for quarterback as we get ready to go to our next position group.
All right, not bad at all. And for me, Gino would have been a 4 for me, a solid 4. And like I said, me being the optimist here, it's what you just said, Phil. It's like based on what I saw last year, that was 4 quarterback play all year long. So can we get that again? All right, so we're on to the next group. The next group we're going to go with is running back. So Phil, how do you want to set up the running back room?
With the running back room, I think we're looking pretty good with some pretty good variety with Ken Walker, Zach Charbonnet, Kenny McIntosh, and George Alani. I like all these guys, what they can do. Clinton, we know you love yourself some running backs. We know you miss the Chris Carson type. I don't know if we'll ever get somebody quite like him back, but we do have some unique players. How do you feel? How are you going to kick us off here, Clinton, as you would rate these 4 running backs right now?
Solid group, very so again, so what does that mean? It's not a 1, it's not a 2, it's not a 3. I think this is a very solid group. So for me, it's a pretty easy 4 and a more solidified 4 than what I just said for Darnold, although that we're not doing, half marks here. So it is what it is. Look, I still believe strongly that Ken Walker is absolute superstar. He's a superstar. And we've seen it in spurts. We've seen it in stretches, and either some injuries have bogged him down or just straight up zero help, right? Again, we're not judging this group based on the current line or what we've seen the line do for 2 to 3 years under Ken Walker. This is straight up, how do we feel about this room? I think it's really good. I like the depth in this room. I've been a critic of Charbonnet at times, but I got to say, he did shut me up last year that when he got the ball and he had his chances with volume, he did produce. So,
Same.
and he produced over and over, and he stays healthy and he stays on the field. Will be cool to see if they maybe move him into some halfback and fullback stuff scheme and with Kubiak. That might be interesting with both dudes on the field. And then the depth beyond that with McIntosh and Halani. I think we've got some ballers. Last little thing I'll say is I think the wide zone scheme really fits what McIntosh can do well as a footballer. And I'm excited to see if he gets a little more opportunity there. But it's a pretty easy 4, man. This is the type of group with like one juiced up season with the right scheme. We could be coming back a year later being like, oh man, they were a knockout. They knocked out of the park. They were a 5. So easy 4. How about you guys?
Adam?
Yeah. So when you're looking at this list of names here, Ken Walker, Charbonnet, McIntosh, Holani, talent's not an issue. Talent's not an issue at all. This is a really solid group, and they're super excited. This might be this is the group that I'm second most excited about, if that makes sense. I love Ken Walker. I absolutely love Ken Walker. Watching him run the rock is watching a little bit like a pre-Barry, before Barry was like fully Barry in the national consciousness, right? Like, and we really knew what he could do. Like, he's got that sort of talent and wiggle in. He can even make it happen when things in front of him aren't great. And the only thing holding him back, obviously, has been the injuries to this point and terrible offensive coordinators. So I do really believe that having Kubiak here with his emphasis on running is going to help out Ken Walker a ton. Now, can his body keep up with that? We shall see, right? Because as we'll say later on in this show, health is a part of talent, and his health factor of his talent's been a little below average. It's not been terrible. Some people overblow it, but he hasn't been available as much as you'd like. Charbonnet is one of those guys that at UCLA, when you watch this tape, if everything was right in front of him, very dangerous back, capable, does all the things, blocks well, catches well, runs with a little bit of pop. I think some of the power back stuff with Charbonnet is overblown. I don't see him that way. He's more kind of a Matt Forte type, and good, solid all around back. If everything is right in front of him, I don't think he can make something out of nothing. And that's what I think we saw last year is a couple of games they committed to the run, and they committed because they were having success in that particular game. So the blocking was decent in front of him. That's when he looked good. When it didn't look good in front of him, it was tough. McIntosh, Clinton, you hit it right on the head. I think he's going to fit so well in this wide zone system. I love his skill set. If it were me and I was doing the depth chart of running backs, I'd have McIntosh above Charbonnet, especially in this system. I really like the upside of Kenny Mack. Every time he's touched or had his opportunity, he's been good. And then Holani is a really good, solid backup that you can count on to come in and be a guy if you get down to fourth on the depth chart. They just need to add one bruiser, one fullback type. Like, I don't know. I'll pound for it every time we get a chance. Like, give me the Scattaboo and put him in there with this group. And now you're a 5. But as of right now, they're like a 4.956. Like, I want to say 5, but it's a 4 for me. And it could easily trend upwards in this system. I'm fired up for this group, Phil.
Well, Adam, you said we had the near Barry Sanders. I just about wrote 5 down right away if he's Barry Sanders, but
I'm just saying, like, we've seen the elements, like you've seen him
Yes.
do Barry Sanders type things where you're like, holy cow, that is next level special.
The 2 Barry Sanders things I'd like him to add is 1, never miss a game for 9 years. That'd be great.
Yep.
And then the other one would be just take the hole, right? Like, I guess occasionally Barry would get himself into trouble with a
He would
I was gonna
dance.
say, yeah, that was his number one criticism, right? You know, dancing around too much and negative runs in comparison to the positive runs. And those were always the Emmett Smith files that would come out and be like, oh no, Emmett's way better. And I'd be like, you don't have eyeballs. And so yeah, that's how I feel about Ken Walker.
But Ken does have the side-to-side leaps. I was telling my son about Barry and went back and watched, and he's like, that's what Walker does. And you're right. You watch Ken sometimes when he wants to do those direction changes and just go from one spot all the way to another spot. That's a great ability in soccer, by the way. Messi can jump like 2 people away, and someone's going for the ball and he's completely gone. Ken does that as a running back. It just makes it really fun to watch. I hope he can stay healthy. To me, you guys talk about wide zone with these other guys. I think there's a chance if Ken gets it right, I think he can break some really cool stuff in the wide zone as well, assuming our guys can get to where they block it properly. Charbonnet, he made me feel really dumb in a good way because I thought he was total garbage and a waste of a pick. I didn't like the pick when we got it. There were so many other things I wanted. And then further was my priors just kept getting cemented by his lack of specialness. Last year, I liked his discipline. I liked his blocking in the pass game. I liked that he went for it and he got 1.5 yards when a yard was there instead of getting minus. I liked that if it was open, he could lumber and get a little bit. He's not a total bruiser, but he could push for some more if he got some momentum going. So I'm much more up on him than I was as a punch. Kenny, I like how he catches. In fact, I like how all these guys catch, except for maybe Holani. I don't know as well. He seemed like he's okay at it. But our first 3 guys all catch the ball well. I didn't know that Kenny could be that great at it. And he had that phenomenal catch at the cone on the right side in the end zone. Ken Walker, I should say. Zach, I barely see him drop him either. So they're all around players in the thing that they do. You can put them on the field for any kind of play. To me, it's a 4 all the way just because Ken Walker, K9, is not the special guy that I think he can be yet. If he does that, then this is a 5. If he does that, the other guys, I don't think they have it in him. He's got the potential to make it a 5. So running back, our average is really obvious. 4-4-4. We are at a 4.
We're at a 4, and we're going to get to that 5 when we blow a 2nd-round pick this year on a running back. I kid. All right,
if that's on Scattaboo, that you will take the blowing part and remove that from that sentence. Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
I'd like to get Scattaboo. Look, Scattaboo back there as an H back and full back and smashy back.
Yeah.
It could be a lot of fun. One of the reasons,
setter, attitude guy. Hell yeah.
it's almost the same exact reason that I'm so into Tyler Warren and maybe even Colston Loveland. I'm really coming around to watching more of him and opening up to be like maybe at 18. Are we talking about? No, I was going to say that'd be a great segue
ready.
if we were talking tight ends, but we're not. We're talking wide receivers, and we are covering each and every position group with our Seattle Seahawks, and we're giving them a grade as of right now on March 27th, about a month still away from the draft. This is just a slice of time. How do we feel about this group? And now we're up on wide receivers, which has had a big shakeup, Mr. Phil.
Well, has there been a position with more change? Well, we could say quarterback, but that's about it. when you talk about a position group that has a number of characters, a number of players, this one has really, really changed. Amazing. JSN is still only 23 to start this season. And then we have at the other extreme, we have Cooper Cup at age 32, Bobo somewhere in the middle in all the ways at 27, and MVS we just signed at age 31. You also mentioned Young, Kraft, and White. I like White. So let's get an idea. We'll start with Adam this time. On our wide receivers, last year, I think we could have, if we were going to pick a 5, last year, wide receiver might have been the one. This year, I'm curious how you guys will rate them. Adam, go ahead.
In terms of position groups, I feel about this position group like I feel about the Sam Darnold contract. Like the amount of variance that can occur if it is this group of guys going into the season is so incredibly wild. You think about JSN and everybody after the season last year, it's like, well, JSN is the one. He's the number one. And it's like, well, I mean, yes, he had the most production in terms of numbers, but you watched the season last year and you look the way that coverages were going, and he wasn't treated as the one by the rest of the NFL. He was treated as a 2A, which he absolutely earned and was, right at the top of number 2s, because all of the coverage was being rolled to DK. DK was the straw that was really stirring the drink in that wide receiver room. Now with DK gone, now we're going to see if JSN really is a number one. Let's see what he can do. Can he be the guy that pulls all the coverages and gets other guys open? Is he able to beat the defense when they are focusing on him as the true number one? That's a big variable. We'll see. I honestly don't know. He's one of those guys with his skill set, just the way that he moves. He's not a guy that jumps off the screen in terms of like, ooh, he's crazy athletic, or he's crazy tall, or he's got the craziest best hands, but he does get open. He is very productive, and he is sneaky fast. So, with JSN leading the room, there's a lot of question marks there still, even after a nice season last year. The Cup signing, after seeing the contract and realizing that it's basically a 1-year kind of roll of the dice, I feel better about it. But I'd ask you guys, when we're doing this ranking, are we ranking it with the assumption that you get 13 to 14 healthy games out of Cup? Is that what we're thinking?
I think that's fair. I think you have to assume health and
Ankle.
at the same time.
Ankle means missed games. Yeah.
He's a 32-year-old who's missed a lot of games recently. So let's go somewhere like that. 13 healthy games of Cooper Cup out of 17. So, which is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. I think that would be a coup if that really does happen, mainly because, as Phil pointed out, specifically the ankle has been a problem for 3 years in a row now. Last year was his least productive season since 2018. A player that appears to be on the decline to this point. I mean, enough to where the Rams said, hey, you're a legend, but we're going to let you walk. Having him as your, quote, number 2, if he's healthy and you get a throwbacky kind of season for him, okay. I mean, it's nice. We'll see how it goes. I'm terrified of the injury part of this. Like, I really am. I feel like this just has, he plays 6 games, but is still kind of banged up, written all over it to me. Could be wrong. We'll see. Nobody will know until we get to the season. Bobo, we all love Bobo. We all want a little more Bobo in our life. But the thing about Bobo is that I think what makes him work well in the league is that you don't put him out there very often, so that the other players, the defensive players, don't get used to the way that he does create separation, which is unique upon to him, just because of his speed and kind of craftiness and all of that. I think he's better in short spurts. So I don't want him as the number 3 down in, down out, but I really do like him as a number 4 that maybe utilized a little more than in the past. MVS, I'm a big fan of this signing. I think that this is the guy that can do a little bit of the field stretching for the money. This is a professional wide receiver that will come in and do professional wide receiver things for a very reasonable number. I think that was a very solid signing, especially in an offense where we're probably going to be dialing it back on chucking the rock around a little bit. I like Derek Young. I've always kind of been a River Craycraft guy. Like, I just kind of like some of the things that he does out there. I picture him growing up on a hippie commune too, like with a name like River. So that's kind of fun. And then Cody White, for a guy filling out the back end of the wide receiver room. I like it. Do I feel like they need to go out in the draft and do something? Not really. I'd rather kind of roll with this than waste draft capital on a wide receiver this year. So for me, I want to say 3, but my gut says 2. Like if there were half points, this really would be a 2.5 to me. I'm gonna say, all right, I'll say a 3. But it's tough.
You're saying a 3 because you don't want us to decide at the end of when we look at this that we do need to address it in the draft. I know why you're saying a 3, Adam.
Don't bother me with my own facts, logic, and reason. Yeah,
Clinton, go ahead. How do you rate this group?
Yeah, difficult to rate. I'm in the same kind of box, I'd say, that Adam painted there. I will just say, I'm at a 3. There's enough talent here, and here's the thing: the floor for me is that's what gets me to a 3. It's like even if there was injury from the folks who have been injury prone, there's enough talent here between JSN, MVS stretching the field, and I like our depth. I like Craig Yett. I like Cody White. Not the biggest hugest fan of Derek Young at this point in the career. For me, he's actually been a little disappointing on some of the special teams things that he's done. So I think he's going to be in a real battle to see if he makes the roster this time of year. Not shown. We just picked up Steve Sims. Again, that's a special teamer, and we'll see if he could battle and stick around as well. One thing about Jake Bobo, with that floor too, while I do agree with Adam that, look, you don't want him out there all the time. I think in those condensed formations in the 12 personnel and the 13 personnel, specifically that 13 personnel, you could use Bobo as that de facto third tight end also. He's really kind of like, doesn't have the exact power of a tight end, but he does have kind of the size of like the move tight ends. And I think Kubiak will do interesting things with interesting players. We'll see how that plays out. Might be rewind this and be like, Bobo had 6 catches on the year. Wouldn't shock me. It would pain me, but it wouldn't shock me.
He's slower than every move tight end in the league, though, Clinton.
Not really. I mean, like, you got to remember the guy
They're
ran
usually 4.8, 4.7. The move tight end. Some are 4.6s, right?
You got to remember yes. And Mason Taylor, Jason Taylor's son, ran like a 4.55 yesterday, right? Yeah. Which is blazing for a dude who's 6'5". With that though, you have to remember that he did his pro day in the absolute pouring rain outside. So like, you have to remember
that. I did hear about that one time.
It actually to a headwind and uphill both ways.
But it does.
So,
but if you're measuring a guy on his 40, look at Gunnar Helm, right? That's how you say his name, from Texas, the tight end. He ran, for whatever reason, he decided to run his 40 on a very, very busted ankle, ran the 4.8s, and then had to show a picture of his foot later being like, this is why I ran so slow. I mean, hey guys, if it's pouring rain out, cancel the day. You're in California, first of all. Tomorrow will be nice. Do it the next day. If you have a busted ankle, don't run the 40 and then have to show me a picture. So I'm just saying. Anyway, condensed formations, 13 personnel. Jake Bobo is a good route runner, and he's crafty. He's not cray crafty, but he's crafty. So I'm a solid 3, Phil. Where are you at?
Okay, this is tough for me, and it's hard not to keep talking about Bobo. Speaking of running in the rain, a great scene, if you ever watched the old Black Stallion movie, no speaking, the black runs his time, pouring down rain, got the old cars showing up. I just love the old cinematography of watching him just tear it up in the rain. That just a little plot, just a memory there. Bobo obviously isn't the black. My concern with our receiver group is if JSN goes down, I mean, Sam might as well just plan on handing the ball off a lot. I don't know who's going to always get open. I like Cooper Kupp, the old one. He was one of my very favorite players on a team that I hate. I just don't know that those ankles are getting open that much anymore, and it's really sad to say. I hope I'm wrong. One thing about ankles, he'll be able to gut it out a lot. Cooper's going to miss a couple games. He's not going to miss the season. Ankle guys miss games, and they fight through other games that they're hurt. But the big difference-making stuff, I just hope I'm wrong. I have I give it a small chance of him returning to huge difference-making Cooper Kupp. If he does, boy, what a great signing. JSN, I don't slam him for the coverage he had because he wasn't playing the X. The deep guy gets the safety over the top. That's smart defense. MVS will still have to, or we're going to torch them because you can't put one corner on a guy that can burn it deep and not get killed from time to time. Sam can throw those long ones. So I'm totally cool. If we start rolling all the doubles to JSN all the time, MVS is going to get some beautiful Daryl Turner long distance touchdowns, and I'm fine with that. He's going to drop some too, but that's the point of the deep. That's the point of the deep receiver. We didn't tap into all the DK could do. I've got to go 2 though, just because of my concerns. I hate it that I have to go 2. It's just that there's too much on JSN right now if we don't find somebody else. Let's see what that gives us as an average. I should be able to do the math. That puts us at a 2.7. So we got a 2.7 on receiver.
All right. And I think that last point on JSN, Adam, is interesting as well. Before we get over to the tight end room, it's, JSN, I think his numbers, I think he was like 86% in the slot last year. So predominantly in the slot last year. And now you bring in Cooper Kupp, who is maybe the best slot guy the last 8 years in the NFL, like very, very, very near up there. And you start to think, well, how is this going to work? And I think the common thought is that JSN is going to have to be outside more. He's going to have to, and again, Kubiak will do the condensed things, but still, it's not like they will never be in 11 personnel. They'll still be in 11 at points. And JSN is going to have to live outside. Now, I will say, when he's outside, I think he's been good. So it just might be a matter of he just wasn't asked to do it too much with
he was good at Ohio State outside. He was great on outside at Ohio State.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's more room because you could go to the field, right, and play the hash game there. It makes it a little bit easier on offensive systems for sure. But I think he's actually a pretty successful outside receiver. And I could harken back to when DK went down a couple of times the last couple of years. And that's actually, I think, maybe the point I'll land it on is like the moments where DK was out, which were a couple of times the last few years. We could think about that Eagles game with the big catch from Drew Lock. We could think middle of last season where JSN's getting targeted 13, 14 times a game. When DK wasn't there, I feel like JSN stepped up a plenty and showed that he can be a true number one. Adam, before you rotated to tight ends, wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a super solid point about the way that he performed when he didn't have DK out there. With that said, the reason I have reservations, and this is what gets me in trouble with a lot of the commenters, is the reason that I have reservations is I don't just look at a guy and be like, oh, I saw 1 or 2 things. I really hope that he's going to do that going forward. In fact, not only do I hope it, but I'm dead sure of it going forward. I need a lot more of a sample size to feel good about that. That doesn't mean that the early returns on some of the things that we've seen have been good. So that's the reason why it kept me out of going to a 2 in sticking with the 3 is that there is room for JSN to really show that he is a number one. And further to your point, I liked what I saw when he played outside. It's something that he's talked about. And when he was coming out of college, people were like, they only play in the slot. Are you just a slot guy? And he really bristles at that. That's something that he thinks that he is a all-around receiver, that he can go outside and get the job done there. And I haven't seen anything to prove him wrong. So we'll see how it goes going forward. I just want to see more.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let's move to tight end. Happy birthday, Clinton. It's your birthday. We know what you want packaged up for your future birthday present. Will your rating, Adam's rating, will our rating determine that Clinton's going to get his amazing birthday present at this position? Let's hear. We have AJ Barner at 23, Noah Fant at 28. We still have him. Eric Sobert, 31, and Brady Russell, the fun guy to watch, at age 27. Clinton, you get to go first. How will you rate this multifaceted position group, the tight end?
Yeah. And while we're putting position groups into, into vacuums and just looking at them for what they are, I think in that vacuum still has to be what the coaches want to do with that unit. Like that's in the mix. It's not just like, take this team and put them on any scheme. It's like, nope, put this inside the Kubiak scheme where you're going to get lots of 12. You're going to get a healthy amount of 13, 12 personnel, 2 tight ends on the field, 13 personnel, 3 tight ends on the field. You're going to get a good amount of that, more than the average NFL team. with this team, with the skill set, and I really like AJ Barner. I'm still giving this group an overall 2. And I really liked the Noah Fant part of the Russell Wilson trade. And of all the things that have transpired with that trade, he's got to be one of the most disappointing players for me. It's not like he's been terrible, and it's not like he doesn't put up some numbers, but to me, he's so in between. He's not exactly an elite move tight end. And when I go watch him block, it's a lot of getting in the way of dudes. And he's somewhat willing. I just don't see him as a very effective inline blocker. Whereas again, AJ Barner, I see a lot more in one season. I think he's quite a good player. Saubert, they just brought in journeyman, sure. We'll see. And I don't really Brady Russell to me, when they try him at fullback, for me, not enough power. I think he's an interesting tweener tight end.
Special
To me,
teams player.
and a heart player for sure. But this group right now, I think it's below average. I think Barner brings it up to a 2. I also think Noah Fant is not long for this team. I think he will be traded or moved before the season starts. I could be wrong about that. Just a gut feeling I get. This is approaching a 2, and AJ Barner's carrying a lot of water from here for me here, guys. How about you, Adam?
Clinton, do you think that Noah Fant is still on the roster today because they're just waiting to see how the draft shakes out, and he's kind of like a placeholder, like a just in case? Well, we can keep Fant for the year. Is that kind of where your head's at?
It is. I think he's actually valuable draft trade fodder. So if they want to move, a little bit, they want to do like a Tyler Lockett move or a DK Metcalf move and move up in a second or move up in a third and go get a guy they want to go get. I think he's still valuable to NFL teams, and in specific schemes could be even more valuable than he would be on the Seahawks. So I do. I think he's a movable chip, still quite young. He's only turning, league age 28 this year. It's something where we might even eat a little bit of salary and be like, oh, we moved up, whatever, 20 positions in the draft. We swapped and they get Noah Fant and we eat a little salary and we go get the guy we want to go get. It's a very, very deep tight end class beyond the top dudes who are quite good. There's 6 or 7 that could easily come on a rookie deal, save you quite a bit of money, and maybe give you a similar skill set or be like a really good inline blocker and give you something that Noah Fant doesn't give you. So long-winded way of saying, yes, Adam, I think he's movable.
Okay. And if it doesn't match up, when your spot comes and your guy's gone, or there's a guy you got to have at another position, you're like, well, we'll just keep Noah because we got to get this linebacker. We'll keep Noah because this edge player, he should not be here. And I'm just not going to pull the trigger on a tight end that I'm not sure about. So that gives us a lot of flexibility going into the draft. It is your turn, Adam. Sorry, I butted in.
Oh, no, keep going with it. I just thought it was hilarious that you said when the draft comes around and the guy isn't there, that you're like, we got to get this guard because he's sitting there. That's the position that you left out there. Talked about some other ones. That was funny to me.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Wait, well, since you kind of started there, Phil, why don't you give us the rest of your thoughts on tight end here?
Oh, you want to go with me? Yeah, my thought is it needs to be better, but we could go into the season with this, and yeah, it's between a 2 and a 3 to me with this group. I not sure if Noah's a fit. I think that's going to be up to Coobs to decide. If he likes him, then Schneider's going to know that. But I imagine Schneider's kind of like, I've got this card here, guys. He's playing Settlers of Catan or whatever. He lets you know, I'm willing to trade this. I'll make it work if nobody wants it for what I'm looking for, but I'm definitely willing to trade this card. And if he doesn't get any calls, he'll go ahead and keep him. He doesn't hate the price. He probably doesn't love the price. And then I imagine if a tight end comes up when it's his turn that he wants, he's going to go ahead and draft that tight end. And then he's going to trade Noah for, pennies on dimes on the dollar. He'll just go ahead and move him to move off the money and let somebody get a great trade deal. That's my guess. If I was John, I'd be playing it that way. And John always does exactly what I'm thinking, so I'm sure it's that way. I do love Barner. He was really good for a rookie. I think he's going to be an excellent player for years to come as a Seahawk. That's why I could push this to a 3, but I think you're right. I think I have to stay at a 2. There's nothing dynamic with where we're at quite yet. Adam?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you guys talk about it. agree with the sentiment for a lot of the things that you've said there. I think first and foremost for me, AJ Barner isn't a number one tight end right now. I mean, maybe he grows into that. He had a nice rookie year, and he can block and he can catch. He can do all the tight end things, and that's nice. That's nice. He's, to me right now, he's that really good, or nice and solid second tight end. But there's no number one tight end in this group, so that drops a grade for me. And then you guys, I think, hit the nail on the head about Noah Fant in the fit. I don't see him fitting in this offense because he is not. It's not in your opinion, Clinton. Noah Fant is not a good blocker. That's just not who he is. It's what they've tried to develop with him his entire career. It's a lot like Jimmy Graham. Not a knock on Jimmy. Jimmy Graham might be a Hall of Fame player, right?
Right.
And he's just not a blocker, just not his deal. Kind of the same thing with Noah Fant. The other thing with Fant is we've seen this guy come through the league 1,000 times at all sorts of different positions. Solid character guy, works hard, has the body type, all the measurables are there. But for whatever reason, to go from like, pretty good to it really pops, just never materializes. And that could be for a whole host of reasons. But I think at this point in his career with Noah Fant, we're like, okay, you're a guy. But for the number, I don't think that you're going to want to pay him. And for the system, I don't think you're going to want to keep him on the team. Saubert's in case of emergency, break glass, put him out on offense, but really there for special teams mainly. And Brady Russell, you guys nailed it with the tweener type designation there. This group could go up exponentially after the draft. I think it's one of the, if not the weakest, one of the weakest. Actually, I think this might be the weakest position group on the entire team. This is honestly a 1 for me because we don't have a true number one starting tight end. And I think one of the guys you're relying on to be a big contributor here isn't necessarily a fit.
Interesting. You gave this one a 1, which puts us at a 1.7 on tight end. You called it the weakest position group yet. We have a couple other offensive groups to deal with, and I'm interested to hear what your scores are. We're now going to get to the 2 position groups that actually determine how great an offense can be, the most important position groups that will allow a coordinator's plays to actually work, these other players we talked about to actually do their things and utilize their God-given talents. If these next 2 groups can't do their job, the rest doesn't matter. We start with offensive tackle, where we have Charles Cross, age 25. He's going to get the 5th-year option. Hopefully we can get him extended soon. Abe Lucas, a little older, though, from the same class at 27, also a little more banged up, of course. Josh Jones at 28, and Michael Jarrell. So we did pick up another swing tackle to replace the other Fant. Adam, you should go first on this. How do you feel about our tackles, man? 1 to 5.
I go with a 4, and it would be a 5 if I knew Abe Lucas's knee was going to be fine for the rest of the season. I think when Abe came back initially, he looked pretty good. The play fell off a little bit, but also too, that's him working himself back into football shape, having missed however long it was that he missed. It was a heck of a long time. So full off season, being healthy and getting in a system with an offensive coordinator that I think understands his play calls really do make a big difference in the success offensive linemen have, rather than a offensive coordinator who couldn't care less about the bind he's putting his offensive line in, like we had in Grubb last year. I'm really high on our starters. And then you talk about Josh Jones, and while I never want to see him out there as a full-time starter, a guy that you bring in and you go, look, he has started, he has experience, he has moved from side to side, somebody that can get you through 2-3 games. That's all you're looking for. And I think that's an upgrade over some of those guys we've had in that position in the past. Jarrell is more of an interior player. Everybody else is way higher on him than I am. For me, he's kind of one of those, just a guy back at the end filling guys. But if it weren't for Abe's knee, this would be a 5, because Cross, while maybe not an elite left tackle, is a very good one. And look around the league right now, there's a crisis at left tackle. Like, people are having a hard time filling that spot. And to have somebody who's very good, even if he's not elite, pay him all the dollars. I don't care what the amount is. Like, that's a boon in your cap.
Yeah, I like the upgrade, like you mentioned, of Jones over Forsyth and Fant. I think that this is someone more versatile, more reliable, and hopefully a little more. Well, Forsyth had the health, Fant, so didn't. But I think that could be an improvement as well. Clinton, how do you feel about our tackles?
Yeah, starting from the bottom there to build it up on screen. Jarrell is a giant body and he's a project, right? So they'll keep working on him, give him at least one more year of super cheap money. Remember, he went to Findlay College, and I think he's the only player ever drafted from Findlay. He's just a giant human. So maybe a year or two in a professional program, and maybe you got something there. We'll see. We'll see how that shakes. So that one's just like set that off to the side burner, keep working on it. Hopefully you don't see too much of him unless he really shows rapid improvement and is ready for prime time. But maybe that's another year or two away for Jarrell. But a cool little science project on the side. Jones, Phil, you nailed it. That's an upgrade over Forsyth. I like George Fant, but he obviously didn't play it down last year. And Kubiak has shown that he'll do some of the six offensive lineman stuff, a la the first go around with George Fant when he would be the sixth guy out there. Kubiak will do some of that. So we will see some Jones in that capacity. That can be very cool. The tackles are really good, guys. This is, again, we have to, the practice is to assume health in the sense of, realism. And I think a year removed from the major injury for Abe is going to do a lot of good. And I also feel like I defend Charles Cross from Seahawks fans more than the average Bear, because I think he's just a darn good left tackle who they happen to, well, at least Grubb did. They left him on an island all the time.
Yeah.
And partly because we didn't have great interior inline tight end help. And so Cross was out by his lonesome more often than most tackles were asked
Against
to go do.
great players all the time.
Yeah, and he still performed admirably to quite good. So this is with all that said, I'm actually teetering between a 3 and a 4, but I think it's a 4 with all those things being said, because I'm a pretty harsh grader to begin with. And there is that health issue that just is there for Lucas. We saw what happened when he was not available early, and it's just a very different feeling football team. So, but I'll land there. Solid 4. We still got plenty of youth. It'll be really interesting to see maybe halfway through the year, guys. Let's say Lucas is out there 6, 7, 8 games in, and it's very evident that he's back. He's back to year one form. I think Schneider's got to do everything in his power to extend that dude, mid-season. Do not let him get into a position where he could be looking at walking. And that's going to be major. You have the ability to Cross with that 5th year, because he's a first rounder, to make that decision pretty soon. And away you go. Just get that protection, then restructure him as well. Look, if we could fast forward this 6 months from now, guys, or 7 months from now, 8 months from now, and in the crystal ball, we see both of them extended as Seahawks for a second, their second contract, then a lot has gone right with this franchise, and they'll be the anchors. So for me, that brings me to a 4, Phil.
All right, moving on from our very harsh grader, Clinton. I saw Adam chuckle. I was thinking as he said, I was like, did he just say he's a harsh grader of Seahawks players? Is that really what he said? And then Adam chuckled, and I go, okay, he must have really said that. That actually was what he said about himself.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's not a fair grader, but if I were back in high school, which I hope would never happen, Clinton is the high school lit teacher that we all wish that we had. You get a free letter grade bump up, just in terms of just overall cheeriness, and all you got to do is be engaging, and you probably get a B+ no matter what, even if you miss all the homework. So yeah, that kind of harsh grading, I'm into it.
Yeah, he seems to be that harsh of a grader. That's what I would say. This year, as far as my opinion on the tackles, Cross was the guy I wanted to see prove it to me. He looked pretty good for a rookie. I wasn't so sure on his sophomore. I said, let's see a step. This is an important year. And I really saw it. Of all the Seahawks, that's the one I wanted to see it. And and he definitely did. I'm confident. We need all this cap savings we're doing because we've been drafting really good. We're going to have to pay some good players. If Abe proves he's healthy, he's going to definitely need extended. We're going to have to start dropping the cash. So I'm
Yep.
glad that we're hoarding a little bit of money for some of these guys. I think this one's a 4 for sure, only because we don't have that absolute dominant tackle that everybody's terrified of. We have a couple good ones. I'm really happy. I think by way of contrast, when you see what's right next to them on either side, when
Mhm.
you see some of the things we've had in the past, we're really excited. That's what makes us feel like it might be a little better than a 4. But perspective compared to the league, I think it's a 4. I think we all gave it a 4. I imagine the commenters would as well, but we do hope as you're following along that you're throwing your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, 1 is this is a problem. 2 is it's still a minus. 3 is you feeling okay. It's not great. It's not bad. It's okay. 4 is now we've got a plus. And 5, we're looking at this is something that's excellent. It's dominant. Let's keep it where it's at. Let's look at other positions. Speaking of other positions, gentlemen, we will now talk about interior O-line. I'm going to save Adam, but I can hardly wait to see how he's going to tell us this position is better than tight end, apparently. But Clinton, how about you go first? How would you grade? I know you're a good grader. I know you love our guys. We have Olu Oluwatimi as our center. He's 26. We have Lamea at 24. That guy can move. Christian Haynes, another second-year player at 25. Jalen Sonnell, 26. Is that Sunnell or
Yeah, it should be
Sundell?
Sundell. Typo. Yep.
I thought so. And then Anthony Bradford, we've had him for a couple of years. Big, strong guy. Still seems to be struggling to figure it out, though. Clinton, what score are you going to give 1 to 5 on our interior O line right now? Not with what you hope we get in the draft, but right now.
Well, do you see the letter that's missing in Jalen Sundell's name?
Okay. Yes,
That's
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 fine.
a
Is
that's a
he missing the D?
he's missing the D. He's missing
Oh,
the
okay.
D.
All
And
right.
and in this scale, I think a D would be a pretty easy one. And this is a 1. It's you said it earlier, Phil, you led into it, juxtaposing versus how solid we feel with our tackles. This is center and our guards. It's a 1. Look, we have the slide here, and Oluwatimi is by far and away the most stable person on this whole graph. And I give Olu a lot of credit for being humble, not saying boo when they brought in Connor Williams, just being a consummate professional. Connor Williams hikes the ball 1,000 times over people's heads, decides to retire because he can't hike the ball straight. And Olu went in and did a job, and he did well enough. And we improved when we made that change. But that doesn't mean he should be the star of the show, but he is. It's a pretty easy 1 for me. Can these things? I know flockers like Josh Tehuman and others that are in our Discord, great people, really, really love them a lot. They would say, look, with Benton as a coach and with Kubiak, that they're going to be able to coach this group up. And that actually might be very accurate and might be very true. But I can't wish cast that with this exercise. This is
Are they
graded
the
as it
disciples of John Schneider? Because I think I've been hearing that from his choir lessons, and they're all starting to sing, now we're going to get the coaches and all these great players that I've drafted. We're going to get them coached up. Is that who
Yeah,
you're talking about, Clinton?
I think so. I think so. So it's an easy 1 for me, guys, and not a cheerful 1, but an easy 1. The one name here that I think could surprise to the upside is Jalen Sundell with the D, and North Dakota State guy, and maybe, just maybe, he gets paired up with Gray Zabel, and we get to drive a Bloomy in our Discord rather nuts about that. But I do think there's a lot of talent there, and maybe he can make some noise as an IOL this year. And I'm a UConn guy, so boy, do I hope Haynes has a better second year, because last year was such a disappointment, so disappointing. But it's a 1. Adam, how about you, man?
Yeah, this is interesting. So when we were talking earlier I said tight ends maybe the weakest position group, Phil. I thought you would have offensive line as like one entire position group. I didn't realize tackle
Now
would be
I
broken
get
out
it.
of there, because tackles were going to drag this up a little bit. But then I started thinking about it as we were listening to Clinton talk about this, what we talked about with the tight ends, and I stand by it. I do think that tight end is the weakest. Now, 2 things can be true at the exact same time: that this is not the literal weakest position group on the team, and it can also be true that this by far is the most important weakness that has to be addressed for success to happen on that side of the ball.
Of course.
Addressing the tight end position would be nice and it's going to help, but addressing this is a fundamental building block kind of thing that you got to deal with. The good news is that on John Schneider's last interview on the John Schneider show, he is legitimately annoyed with all of us fans, all of the media, all that. And the thing is I've been railing about this stuff to the point to where people in the comments are annoyed by it, which is fine, to get to the point to where all of us as a whole, we've annoyed John Schneider, so he cannot ignore this anymore. So that actually
people asking him at restaurants.
Yeah, he had the Seahawks scouts had me literally looking at him in the face at Shrine Bowl and being like, "So we're looking at guards, right? Guards and more guards." And like they were annoyed by that, and I didn't care because it needed to be a point. Because to this point, we've heard John talk about, it just didn't happen. I've been in on the deals, or it's overvalued, overpaid. Like it's gotten to the point where he understands he's out of excuses, which is cool. Now, why is this a little bit better than tight ends? And this is a 2 to me because Olu is a legitimate starting center. Is he awesome? Absolutely not. Is he trash? Absolutely not. Is he delightfully average? Yes, absolutely. As far as starting centers go, he's a guy you can put out there and you can build an offensive line with him and not feel like you are exposed as an offensive line. Then you start talking about the rest of the guys to play guard. And the reason why this trends up a little bit in comparison to tight ends, there's not a lot of guys other than Barner in that group where you're like, ooh, he has room to grow. Ooh, he could actually be a really big scheme fit for this. And not saying that it's going to happen. I'm just saying that Christian Haynes coming into his second year, number one problem for him was play strength. It's the most formulaic thing to fix in a player's game. Go take heavy things, lift them lots, and you're now stronger. And that's something that I look at. Also, I look at Anthony Bradford and I'm like, his feet are too slow in pass protection. He's never going to be a good or even an average pass protector, but he is a big mauler. Like, so he may fit in this system a little bit better. And then LeMaya being the project that he is, okay, like you never know. But when I look at the tight end group, I look at that and I'm like, yeah, I know about Fant. That's not going to happen. I know about Brady Russell. He's never going to be the answer. And Sauber, special teams guy. These guys you can look at and you can see the path while it could still be very unlikely that happens. So this is a 2 for me. And that doesn't mean that it is not the most important thing in the world that GM John Schneider has to focus on. And I'll say it until he is done being annoyed and follows through with his actions. Like, let's do that.
Okay, Adam. I just don't agree. I understand your point. Did a great job making it. I like Barner as a starter. Maybe he's a number 2, but I think he could be a number 1 one day and a good number 1. I don't see anybody on this team on the interior O-line that I'm like, I hope he's our long-term answer. Olu is okay, is fine. To me, he's a bottom end starter. Like should be a backup, but you're fine with him as a starter. I want that position upgraded, but I can live with not upgrading it this year and dealing with Olu if we fix the guys on either side of him. I do understand your point. There's some sparks with some of these guys. LeMaya's got some speed. Haynes has some technical skills. Bradford's got some strength, but they're all missing like 2/3 of what it takes to be a really good guard. And so I want improvement big time. Olu, I don't have to have it. I want it. Tight end, I'm fine with those guys this year. I could, if we got to keep Fant, he's a fine for what he does. I want a better blocker, but he's fine. And Barner's, I think he's going to have a really good year. So I just can't agree that interior O-line is better with the players that we have, because we got nobody on here that I hope is our long-term answer. I mean, it'd be cool if one of these 5 guys just takes 2 leaps and it turns out that they're great. It's possible. It's possible that we get 1 out of 5 and that we have that. I just think it's less likely than what I've already seen from our tight end guys. So I understand your point, and obviously we all agree the interior line is a more important position than tight end. You can play football with meh to bottom end starting tight ends. You just can't have an offense when all your interior line is the worst in the league. I saw you raise your hand, Adam. You had something you wanted to punch me back with.
Definitely not punch you back, but just a question in terms of Olu, and you talk about him, in your opinion, being closer to the bottom end of the starting range. I think he's dead nut center. That's fine. Do you think that there's an argument to be made that the play immediately to the left and immediately to the right of him would maybe shape people's view on Olu and make it be lesser than what his ultimate play ability actually is on the field? Because I think he's really been let down by the guys around him more than he's just not good and can't elevate the guys around him. He's not good enough to literally pull a group together and make them better, but he's definitely not the thing dragging him down. And you're right about 1 out of the 5 like hitting. For me, that bet would be on Christian Haynes. I know a lot of people are really into Sundell. Those feel like wish casting moonshots to me, but we'll see.
So my only thing with Olu is every time I saw him in a one-on-one, I felt like it was a minus. I just don't think he's a good blocker. I think he's a smart player. I think he's fine for double teams. He'll do all that. I just feel like he's not opening holes for running backs. He's not really going to handle a good penetrator for pass protection. I know the centers don't always expect to do that, but the great ones do. I like the guy. I think he'd be a solid backup for 10 years, and you could play him for half a season and be okay. He's just not going to be a plus player for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's ever going to be a plus player, but I do think that I would disagree with you about his production as a one-on-one player and what he brings to the table. I think it's slightly higher. Okay.
You have anything on that, Clinton? You're going to rule on one way or another against us here?
Just that scheme is in favor of Kubiak's scheme, and again, wide zone, in that zone running is in favor of Christian Haynes performing better. And I think to a sense, Olu also, because he's not the mauler. He didn't come out of Michigan being the most powerful guy. But when you can get Olu doing things where it's like a combo block with a guard, where Olu does his job and you have an athletic enough guard that's allowed to go climb to the second level and go try and seal a linebacker to go spring something that's working its way to the edge, that seems to be a lot more Olu's lane. And so I think that goes to Adam's point that if we give him some better dance partners, you might see an up leveling still within this scheme, which I think we're going to get. I think we'll either get some better play from the dudes on screen, and or we're going to hit the draft, and that will have this impact on Olu, which I think is solid. I think it's I don't think you said earlier wish casting. I think that's the opposite of wish casting. That's like a logical conclusion to say Olu will get benefit from better guard play in a scheme that's more forgiving with a dude who doesn't have to rely on power. That should be good for Olu.
And he's clearly the least urgent of the three. Fixing that position is clearly the least urgent. I imagine we would all agree with that.
And I think we'd also all agree that if there was an obvious upgrade at center in the draft and they pulled the trigger on it, I don't think any of us would be upset with that pick, right?
No, absolutely.
Let him go compete, right? Let him go compete. And that might come in the form of Gray Zabel, who could play center, but it really looks more like a guard, played tackle in college. But there's like 3 or 4 solid centers that are going anywhere, guys, from like, late second round to really 3rd through 5th round.
Yeah.
And they're the big school, big name guys. And then you still got Drew Kendall, who will probably be kicking around 6th, 7th round, a good scheme fit, obviously got the pedigree from Boston College. His dad was a first rounder with Pete Kendall. Might be a kind of a cool day 3 guy that we could welcome to compete with Olu. I'd be down for that for sure.
Okay, Adam Clinton, guess what? We have concluded our offensive position groups. pretty thorough. There's always more that could be said. I'm hoping that our listeners will make some comments on their particular ratings, but we do have our scores to look over here real quick and kind of grab some takes of what we're hoping to do. Quarterback, we ended up at a 3.3. That's because of Mr. Negative Grader Clinton giving him a 4. Running backs, we all were a 4. Wide receiver, I was the negative guy, but it was a 2.7. Tight end, I believe it was Adam, of course, who was quite down on our tight ends, and we ended up with a 1.7. Tackles, we all agree they're a 4. Moving on up, Adam was even considering a 5 there. Interior O-line, only Adam gives him a 2. It's a 1.3. So between the three of us, that is the lowest group. Birthday boy, who's the oldest of the birthday boys, Clinton, what reactions, what hopes, what emphasis would you like to see as we move toward the draft based on what we're looking at right here?
Yeah, so it feels right in the sense that I think it's a worthy exercise and it's a great debate. And then you look and you go, okay, how close to the pins of the field? It feels actually quite close. And right now, as it stands on March 27th, right, the year 2025, the Seattle Seahawks have the least expensive offensive NFL room in the entire league. Out of 32 teams, the least amount of money poured into the offense. So, given that lack of investment, I think this is about as good as you're going to get until you make some changes. The nice part is we could get some substantial upgrades, like the variance or the delta in some of the lower positions could really change very quickly with a solid draft. And to give John Schneider some credit, we have 5 picks in the first 92. He can go to work and really make some hay here. But I'm not surprised. The numbers are what they are. We don't put a lot of money into offense right now. There's a reason that on the screen it's Leo Williams with the W glasses celebrating and not an offensive player, guys.
For sure. Interesting. You add these up, you do the math here real quick. We had our 2.83 on the offense as a whole, which is, just a smidgen below average. And honestly, that feels about right when you're thinking about just kind of your general feeling going into the discussion. It kind of verifies that. And, one of the things that we do is we look at the draft and go, oh, well, they're going to get these 2 guys. And then all of a sudden, boom. And even if you get good guys in the draft, it is not very often that they come in year 1, have a massive impact. So if this means that they go from a 2.83 after the draft to a 3, like dead nut average offense, I could settle for that after watching what we watched last year in the most nonsensical way to play football I've ever seen in the NFL. Like, it feels good to think that it is possible and maybe even likely.
Yes. I'm looking forward to our next show when we do defense, because all these zeros are just because we have not rated them yet. And I really think that that's going to show up as a strength for us, which means if our offense can get to just absolutely mediocre, but use some clock, score when it's possible. Maybe not the most dynamic, explosive offense ever, but we do have players with some dynamism, mind you. K9 can really, if we get good blocking, we could end up watching this season where he is absolutely a Pro Bowler, somebody that people are excited to see. So there's the chance that our offense can be more than meh, but right now we're just hoping for solid blocking, a real offense with some players that are okay, and let our defense, really get the excitement going for the coming year. So I'm really stoked to do the next show. I think we're going to be doing it here soon. We're going to rate those defensive players. I look at these groups off the top of my head, and I only see a couple where I'm not like thrilled at the roster. And I'm not, even the ones that I'm not thrilled at, I'm fine with. I think I'm at least fine and possibly thrilled with the position groups. As far as addressing in the draft, based on what I see, yes, I want the most of the resources from the difference-making picks to be put toward the offense, because I think that's where we can see some results. I think that's where the depth and the strength is needed. Anything else, Clinton?
I think I saw a wag go up there. What you got?
Oh, no, just the idea of, yes, the defensive position groups, There's a lot to get excited about. There's some ones that I'm looking at and thinking like, careful, that's a spicy group. Like things that I'm super fired up about. Cannot wait to sit and chat with you guys about the defensive side of the ball, because through the offseason, we've talked a lot about the offense. Offense has been the problem. A lot of people, hear a lot of those shows and think it's all negative. This is when we get to, I think, be realistically positive in a way that I can't wait to do.
Yeah, love it. Love it. All right. So back on screen, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. Remember, it's my birthday, and equally, if not more important, it's Adam's birthday. Both of us on March 27th when you're getting this for the first time. So what can you do? Like and subscribe. It's free. It really helps us out, and it drives the algorithm bananas in all the good ways. And of course, if you're getting a bit more value and you want to show it, getintheflock.com, couple bucks a month, $3 a month and above, and you become a member of our Discord, all the fun perks. It's a lot of fun. Adam, one last birthday plea from you. Why should people become a member of our flock?
Because it's the coolest group of little flockers that you'll ever meet in your life. And especially at the $3 a month and above, the Discord group right there, that has become such a premium place to have really good football discussions from people with all sorts of different opinions. You got Clinton in there talking, he talked about wish casting earlier, what wasn't a wish cast, but he's wish casting for Gray Zabel. He loves him some Gray Zabel. You got longtime little flocker Bloomy in there talking about how that would be a disaster. You got everything in between. It's a cordial place still, and it's really cool, and it helps us out a lot. And a big thank you to all of you who have been liking, subscribing, getting in the flock, because honestly, in the last couple of weeks, boy, it really has been taken off, especially for the off season. And it's awesome. You guys are amazing. So thank you to all you little flockers. You're making it happen. And Phil, thank you for putting this together today. This is a lot of fun.
I love it. It's one of my favorite shows to do. I just love to kind of
Yes.
see where we're at all the groups.
Love it. Okay. And I do want to thank R Ryan 911. Last night, we forgot to thank you at the end for your super chat. That was great. And also, guys, last night, Sean Scotchman, a newer member, he gifted 10 YouTube memberships live when Brandon and I were going live, and 10 little flockers were able to come in and get those. And the way you get memberships is on your profile on your desktop, you have to go to your settings and just basically toggle to that you will accept gifts. There's a toggle for that. And then the other way is when you hit the bell, when you comment, the algorithm tracks your activity. And when those gift memberships become available, the algorithm says, here you go. You've been awesome. So we got 10 brand new flockers in last night. Thank you to Scotchman. Down into our belly it goes. Really appreciate that, boys. And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.